Hi, Meeple Watchers. I'm Frank.
And I'm Brandon.
And in today's video, we are going to share our top childhood board games. So I'm really excited for this video because I played board games a lot as a kid, oftentimes by myself. I would pretend to be multiple players because I didn't really have friends that were so interested in the games that I liked. So I grew up playing board games, and then kind of at my teenage years, I stopped and I got sucked into video games, you know, PlayStation, the Nintendo Wii, the Nintendo GameCube. Then I went off to college and I moved to China, and then I lived in Canada. So I kind of just left behind gaming altogether. And it wasn't until this past year when we discovered cash flow, and then that led us to Small World and Ticket to Ride, and then the whole modern era of board games that we are now in. So I'm excited to take a little trip down memory lane. We don't know each other's lists, so have you played board games growing up?
Yes, I played board games all the time growing up. Started off with poker with my grandmother, and then we just kept playing all kinds of different games ever since I was little. And then my sister, and then I still play games with my grandmother.
Nice, all right. So we came up with our top 5 childhood games. So why don't you start out with your number 5?
All right, my number 5 is the Game of Life.
Wow, okay.
So this one I played more with my sister, and we had a lot of fun with that one. We always tried to get as many little kids as we possibly could. We wanted to have that best job, you know, getting a doctor or a lawyer, so you get those paydays at every time we would go past. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I never played this game, the physical version. I had, I think, a version for PlayStation that I played. Did you go down the college track, or did you avoid the college? I remember that was the big decision in the beginning. Either you go to college and you get all this debt, but hopefully you get a better job, or you just don't go down the college route. Do you remember?
I think we always went down the college route.
Yeah, I think that usually that's the smarter decision. Yeah, just a very basic, simple game. You just spin the wheel and you just move down the board. Yeah. Super fun. All right. So my number 5, I would be so amazed if anyone knows what this game is. It's called Mystery Mansion. You haven't heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I don't know how my parents found this game. I don't even know where it came from, but I just owned it. It was just in my house as a kid. So the game board is it's a giant mansion, and the game comes with all of these little plastic furniture pieces. So there's like there's a plastic dining room table. There's even a rug. There's a plastic toilet. There's a piano. There's lamps, and I would say at least 50 pieces. And the game comes with this little electronic box, and basically you're trying to find where the $1 million is hidden in the mansion. And by the way, I've never played this game with anyone except myself. I only played this game by myself. But it was so fun because you would explore the mansion in the different rooms, and you'd play different cards, and then you'd use that electronic device. Basically, it was this random man's voice, and he would tell you if you were getting like hotter or colder to find the money. So on every piece of furniture, this is probably sounding so weird, there was a little tiny number. And it actually came with a magnifying glass so you could see what it is. So you'd punch the number into the electronic device, and it would show you either with text, or it would actually say out loud, you know, you found a clue, or, you know, the money is not in this room, but it's in this room. And basically you just keep going around the board until you discover where the $1 million is hidden. So that's Mystery Mansion. It is not, I don't think it's sold anymore, but there is someone selling just a collectible for $300 right now. It was a pretty fun game. So that was my number 5, Mystery Mansion.
Wow, $300. I've never even heard of that game, like you said.
I don't know, where my parents probably found it, but it was pretty fun. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Monopoly.
Yes.
This is another game that I talked about my grandma, but I played more with my sister and my mother and my cousin Chrissy. We had a lot of fun playing this game. We would play for hours and hours, and of course we'd make up our own rules. Like free parking, you know, that's always up in the air with everybody.
Would you play the classic version or a special version of it?
So we always had the classic version, but now that I've grown up, I have my very own X-Men edition, which I absolutely love, which I haven't been able to play yet, but I've had it for, yikes, I probably had that for 13 years and still have not played it yet, but opened it up and looked at it. Love the pieces. Love X-Men, so yeah.
Okay. You opened the game. That's a start. Cool. All right. Well, I had for number 4 a game called Rummikub. And this game I would always play with my Aunt Joan. Only with Aunt Joan. It's just so, I don't know, there's something very relaxing about the game. It's got all these tiles, and it's a set builder game. So just like the game Rummy, you're trying to establish sets, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, and you place them out on the table. And when it's your turn, you could build off of whatever's on the table, whatever other people played. It was always a fun game to play. The game came out in 1977, and I love that it's still available today. It's like $20. So yeah, Rummikub was always a game that I liked. I played Rummy a little bit, the actual card game, but I feel like for some reason maybe I just like the tiles of Rummikub a little bit more. So that's my number 4.
All right, so my number 3 is Uno.
Uno.
I know it's not really a board game, but
it's tabletop. It's a card game.
Okay, card game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I play this with my mom. Loved this. My sister loved this. My grandmother loved this, and I even got to play this with my friends at high school. We would play for hours and hours at lunchtime. That's what we would do. We would sit in our little corner. We would eat, and then we would play this game forever, for years. All 3 years. Well, 3 years that our little friend clique kind of played. But yeah, we loved Uno. Lots of fun. I even, when I went to Uganda, went and played Uno there, and they knew it. They just had their own version of it, and so they took right to it, and It was really easy for them to learn. We actually, instead of using Spanish, we used the local language there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Universal game, Uno. All right. So for my number 3, I wrote Cranium. Cranium. So I love this game. This is actually one of the games I did play with other people. I have a very, very clear memory playing this with a few of my best high school friends. When we were playing the game, the cat I had at the time came back into the house. It was an indoor-outdoor cat. She came into the house, and we heard a noise. We heard a noise inside the game box that we had to the side. And our cat actually brought in a dead bird and dropped it inside the game box. So my friends and I will always remember Cranium because of that memory. Our cat was offering us a gift, as cats do. So anyway, Cranium, I digress. Cranium is a whole brain game, and I love it because it incorporates different types of party game elements into one. So I so appreciated that there was the creative cat, which is really whenever you'd land on those spaces, you would have to draw, or it came with this kind of weird smelling purple or blue clay, so you'd have to sculpt it into different things, and your team would have to guess what it is. Then there was the data head, which was just standard trivia questions. Then there was the word worm, which was all about spelling and unscrambling words. And then there was the star performer, where you had to do different whistling or different types of impersonator type challenges. So I just liked that the game, as the name implies, Cranium, it really does involve the whole brain. And there's something for everyone to be strong at or to get stronger at. So I've always enjoyed this one. This came out in 1998. So Cranium is my number 3.
I totally forgot the name of that game. I wanted to put that on my list, and I was like, but I didn't remember what it was, and I was trying to look it up, and I just couldn't find it. But yes, love that game. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 2 is Mexican Train Dominoes. So this is where that Dominoes comes in.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun. I would play with either of my grandparents. I still have my huge set of dominoes, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just like a regular set of dominoes, and you just keep going, but you can also create a whole nother line of dominoes where everybody can play off of if you can't play off your own. So it's a lot of fun, and it goes from 00 to 12. So it's a long game if you want it to be.
Interesting. I'd be down to try that one out. Mexican Train Dominoes.
Yes.
Sounds fun. All right, my number 13, my number 12 is 1313 Deadend Drive. Have you heard of this one?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think this is another one I played by myself. But the theme of the game, is great. So basically, the game is, it's another mansion. The board happens to be a mansion. And like a family member has died, a very wealthy family member. And all of the family has gathered around the table in the middle of the board to go over the will for what's being left to whom. And everyone's been given various different amounts of money. And there's a will mat with all of the different player faces. And everyone has money tokens on them. So there's a bit of a bluffing component to this game, because what you want to do is you want to get your characters outside of the mansion so you could get your money. But you also want to knock off and kill other players' characters. So you don't know whose characters are yours or whose characters are other people's. So there's various traps around the mansion that you could put other players on and kill them. So basically when it's your turn and you can move any pawn anywhere. So you're trying to not make it so obvious that you're trying to move your pieces out. So sometimes you might just, strategically move, your pieces away or not touch your pieces. But there is, like, for example, there's a safe. There's there's 5 or 6 different traps on the game board. There's a safe where if you put a player on the safe, there's a little metal piggy bank that will fall out of the safe and knock the player over, and that player is considered dead. So when a character dies, all of their money that they have gets transferred to the next person on the will. So as the game goes on and more people die, the money tokens just start to stack up. And I remember at the very end of the will, it's like the family cat, like Fluffykins or whatever. So it's really funny because sometimes the game would end and the cat would have all the money and you're just trying to get the cat out of the mansion so you can get the money. There's a knight, where if you put a player in front of the knight will fall over and you can kill off a player. There's steps on the board where if you put a player up the steps, they will fall down the steps and die. And there's a fireplace where if you put a player in the fireplace, they burn to death. So it's kind of a grim game, but it's super fun. And this is another one where it's very hard to find right now. I checked on Amazon. This came out in 2002. And there's some collectible editions for over $100 for 1313 Deadend Drive. So I thought this theme was brilliant and fun. And I would enjoy playing this game by myself many times.
It's another game I haven't heard of.
Yeah. All right, so your number 1 favorite childhood game.
My number 1 is Rummikub. I love this game so much. And because it just reminds me of my grandmother again. We would play this for so many hours. My sister would come in and play. My mom would not play this one. But yeah, we had lots of fun. And one game, we would take hours and hours. Because you can, if you wanted to take it. My grandma, she really thought through with getting all those either 3 different color 6s or 4 different color 6s. And then getting numbers from 0 or 1 to 8 and one color. Yeah. So it's a lot like Rummy, like Frank was saying, but really love this game. Lots of fun.
That's awesome. That's the only overlapping game we had for our childhood.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So my number 1 was Disney Monopoly. That was my number 1. I love this game more than anything. I was not a fan of the base Monopoly, the regular version, but I actually collected a lot of different Monopolies growing up. I had maybe 8 different types of Monopoly. I had Dog-opoly, I had Space Monopoly, and by far Disney Monopoly was the best one. I grew up with all the Disney movies of the 90s, so I loved that. But the board was beautiful. The board actually had this kind of shimmering to it. It had a glow, like kind of a translucent, I don't know how to describe it. It just had this beautiful glow to it. Even the board too, it had this like shine to it. And I just loved the way the board was. I would play this one with another aunt all the time. And we would stay up late for hours and hours playing Disney Monopoly. So by far, this was the game that I always wanted to play. This edition came out in 2001. Now you cannot even really get the Disney Monopoly because they just don't make it anymore. I saw it online for $120. So I wish that I still owned my copy. Actually, it might be in my childhood home. My mom might have it somewhere tucked away. So we'll have to see next time we visit New York. But by far, Disney Monopoly was my favorite childhood game. Now, I probably have no desire to play Monopoly, so it's really interesting how that's changed over time. But I'm curious, of your list right now, which of your games would you actually still play?
I would definitely play Rummikub, Mexican Train Dominoes. I still play that, like I said, with my grandmother. Uno, like my mom wanted to play or something like that. It's probably the only game she would play. Life, don't really need that one anymore. Yeah. Monopoly, if there was a theme to it, I would definitely play it. Like, I have X-Men Monopoly.
We haven't played it. Yes, we can have a Monopoly night. All right, it's hard to be interested in Monopoly because there's so many other games now that just so much more depth and better themes. So anyway, I would probably be down to play all the games except probably Monopoly. I just have no desire really with that game. I would love to just 1313 Deadend Drive. It's just such a fun theme, so I would introduce you to that. Cranium's fun. I would play that. Rummikub. I don't know if we own that right now, but
I have it.
You have it? Okay. We should play Rummikub. And that Mystery Mansion game, if we ever get a copy, if it's not $300, I thought it was fun. I would definitely play that one again. So I have some honorable mentions too. I just wanted to quickly shout out Scattergories. I really enjoyed Scattergories. That's a super fun game. Pit, which we picked up a copy of maybe a year or two ago. So Pit is an awesome game where you're just trading and you're trying to gather all of a set. And there's a bell in it, so you're ringing the bell. It's like a stock market exchange game. So Pit's super fun, fast-paced, high energy. There's a lot of bluffing in it. And this game, Payday, I wrote it down. Have you ever heard of Payday?
I've not.
It is definitely a very bland game. It's just a roll and move. You just roll the die, you move. The board is set up like a calendar, a 30-day calendar, and you just go through the calendar month 3 times. And in the game, you're just trying to get as much money as you can. You have to pay bills. You sometimes have to take out loans. You sometimes can make deals. Then you get your salary. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most money wins. When I describe it now, I just think that's quite a boring game. Just paying bills, taking out loans, making deals. I mean, Cash Flow, we played that and that's really fun. That was one of our first games we played together. So I feel like Cash Flow is way better, because you actually learn a lot more about money. But yeah, I felt like Payday was something a little different to Monopoly, but still had those similar components. So yeah, that was an honorable mention for me.
I guess some honorable mentions would be checkers. I love checkers in middle school.
Yeah.
Yahtzee. Played that a lot with Grandma. Yahtzee.
I remember you liked that one, yep.
When we added an extra twist to that, if anyone ever got Yahtzee, you would take the cup that you rolled with and you would kind of on their top of their head, but not very hard. We'd just be like, Yahtzee, yay! And I think those would be my only 2 honorable mentions.
Nice, excellent. Well, this has been a lovely little walk down memory lane, hasn't it?
Yes.
It's so cool just to see again, where the board game industry has evolved to, and to be back in this hobby and have all these new games to play and just pick up on what was such a cool, fun part of both of our childhoods. So those are our favorite childhood board games. What did you play as a kid? Let us know in the comments below. This was fun. It brings back a lot of nostalgia. And leave a comment to let us know what games you played. And also, remember to subscribe to our channel so that you can see more updates whenever we do share with you board game tutorial videos. As always, thank you so much for Meeple watching, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.